sort of feel like they have sort of, no? Okay, so this is actually a really interesting, this is one of the things that's happening online now as we speak. This discussion about whether Beyonce is a feminist or not, right? And so it's a perfect way of engaging with this question that Brittany has just posed to us, like, what do we do in these spaces? Now, we have different ways to do it, and different blogs do it differently.
Let me play the video. Can we play the video
The
of her
Flawless?
talking about the self-titled?
Oh,
her
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, there's a couple of things that have been happening. There have been really intense, deep, like coming from very personal places, takedowns of Beyonce from feminists, right? People who are really mad that she's being called a feminist. Let me know when I should stop.
Yeah.
Just play it.
Okay.
There's a moment where things click. When I was in the studio, I was threading the songs together, and I thought of this performance, which was a really defining moment in my life as a child.
The hip-hop rapping Girls Time.
Star Search.
Ed McMahon.
In my mind, we would perform on Star Search. We would win, we would get a record deal, and that was my dream at the time. There's no way in the world I would have ever imagined losing as a possibility.
The judges give champion Skeleton Crew. The challenger Girls Time receives 3 stars.
You know, I was only 9 years old. So at that time, you don't realize that you could actually work super hard and give everything you have and lose. It was the best message for me. When I put Ed McMahon in...
Floating. Come on. In Flawless, right? She's in Flawless.
Yeah, what's yours? Come on.
Right, you can do it.
Okay. I'll run it off my.
I know you got that album.
I do have that, but the subtitles she released those separately. These are not on the album.
Oh, yeah,
These are like metal.
That you could actually work super hard and give
there we go.
everything you have and lose. It was the best message for me. When I put Ed McMahon introducing us as the hip-hop rapping Girls Time, it clicked something in my mind. I feel like something about the aggression of Bow Down and the attitude of Flawless, the reality is sometimes you lose. And you're never too good to lose. You're never too big to lose. You're never too smart to lose. It happens, and it happens when it needs to happen. And you have to embrace those things. I was scrolling through videos about feminism on YouTube, and I ran across this video.
Yes, let us think about that.
Scrolling through videos of feminism on YouTube.
Not in the library, not Google Scholar, not none of those things, but on the YouTube.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna pause it because that's one. Wow, and let it load some more. But that's a point of entry for us, right? Is what does it mean if people are getting ideas about feminism from YouTube?
If that's where Beyonce is getting her ideas from
Right.
feminism.
She has all the access to all the things, and is clearly someone who is thinking, right? So
She ain't got LexisNexis.
she's right. She don't have JSTOR. She needs an academic friend to give her a password. Call me, girl. I'll give him a password. But we were talking about this, like, when the album came out, and I think you maybe watched it first, Brittany, and you were like, yeah, she was scrolling through YouTube. That never crossed my mind to look. Now, okay, I've read many of the feminist books, but like, YouTube as a site, you know what I mean? But that makes sense. If you're a visual learner, you could be doing some other stuff and play that. You could have a baby on your hip. You could be typing something else up. You could be doing any number of things, right? And be listening or watching a video. That would be the point of entry.
Right.
It just boggled my mind. I was like, oh, YouTube. Oh, that's where people are not just learning how to cook or do a hairstyle or something other, where you can get other kinds of tangible knowledge.
Right.
But talks on okay, that's the first place you're gonna go. All right.
And just for fancy's sake, why don't y'all, sometimes just type in feminism on YouTube. Better yet, type in black feminism and see how that works out. It's not good.
Well,
It's not good.
if you type in I just did it just to make sure it was still the same. If you type in feminism on YouTube now, you get the TED Talk that she quoted,
Right.
which I imagine is
Wow.
because that's what's
so many
happened
people
now.
have
So
watched it too.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you type in black feminism,
Big to lose, you're never too smart to lose. It
So,
happens and it
so we had a whole conversation about this yesterday too, and I actually think that there are some very legitimate critiques of this album from a feminist standpoint, and also for the sort of model that Beyonce uses of, it's capitalist in its very core. There is something transgressive about releasing the album the way that she did. I don't know that she has lost any money though. It's just like
got my money.
That's right. She got Cherie's money for the first time.
She got
But that notwithstanding, I mean, the structure of celebrity and the way that celebrity is sort of makes money and interacts with capitalism is like a legitimate critique. As is, I think there's a whole conversation to be had about feminists liking sex and that being a key narrative in this album. Of course, in the context of married sex for her, which is, there's a conversation to be had there, right, about her sexual liberation happening in the context of marriage and with this child and what she's having there, which I think that is both transgressive and problematic. There's both of those things are happening. So there is a conversation to be had with Beyonce. And so when we say engagement, we're not just talking about Beyonce might read things and she might not, but a lot of people are coming to feminism through her in a way that they would not be without that. So then we're in a space where we can engage critically with what she's saying, but also create an opening for more conversation. So that's that's a really hard line to walk, right? Where do you sort of say, this is actually really destructive and we're going to engage with it and we're going to do the taking down and calling out? And then where do you say, this is an opportunity and what we're going to do here is engage in a different way with it? And for us, I think, and for different ones of us at different times, it's about audience, it's about content, it's about what feels right in that moment for our own feminist practice, and how we respond to those things. And so I think, I mean, the piece that sort of, there's several pieces that are sort of critiquing Beyonce from a feminist perspective. Some of them have a very hateful tone. So now you have this sort of world of people who are engaging with Beyonce and her kind of coming into feminism who could find that quite easily online, and then now all of a sudden it's like, well, if Beyonce can't be a feminist and I can't be a feminist, I mean, there's any number of conversations that happens. And so this is where I think the movement building piece for me comes back, is like, what is the conversation we're having and with whom and to what end are we doing the critiquing also?
And why?
And
Why
why?
are we doing what we're doing?
Right, and I think the other piece that we talked about is being able to have your process, right? So it just,
Right.
I always remember my first women's studies class at Spelman. I was from the South. I had very serious, limited racial analysis. I didn't have names for stuff. I definitely did not have a gender analysis, and it took time. So what happens if you're a celebrity and you say, I'm interested in it? There's no time, right? You're either perfectly feminist, if there's any such thing, or you're just not.
Well,
and so
yeah, right,
right.
yeah.
So
There's no room for growth or
Exactly.
evolution.
Exactly.
and there's also a problem of scholarly rigor, right? Which is a thing that I wrote a post called 5 Reasons I'm Here for Beyonce the Feminist, but one of the points of that post was academic feminism is not the only feminism there is, right? And I don't and anyone who's had my class or knows me knows I hate bad argumentation. And I feel like a lot of the folks with their legitimate critiques of Beyonce, it's not legitimate. It's hateration. And it's hateration because I think it's some old she's the cool girl and we're the radical chicks. And never the twain shall meet. Because some of our stuff is not as righteous as we try to make it be. And we have to have that conversation in movement building too, which is, you can have that conversation in blog space in a way that you can never have it in the classroom. And look, I'm not saying that everyone who has a problem with the Beyonce album just is hated. That is not the argument at all. I'm saying the arguments that have been put forth are not good arguments because they assume things like that to be feminist is to be anti-capitalist, which is not true in the intellectual history of feminism. To be a radical feminist is to be anti-capitalist, right? But just mainstream, I believe in equality, is just good old regular liberal American mainstream feminism, right? And if all of y'all are acting like you came to feminism and were like, I just want to live in a commune and I don't want to make my paper, you're lying. And I want my paper because I have student loans and people are coming to my house. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like we're not having an honest conversation about what we mean when we say feminist. And that is not, it's not, and so when I know that there are folks who are sitting in women's studies classrooms and they not being honest, then that lets me know that it's not about rigor and it's not about legit critique, it's about emotion. Because you can point to the books in feminist theory that disagree with your position, right? And you're not engaging in that stuff, you're just saying she a bottom bitch. Which means that really you just wanted to call Beyonce a bottom bitch, and then you dressed it up as feminist critique. Ooh. And we call that kind of stuff out. And the only reason I didn't call that girl out is because she's a grad student and I'm a professor now and I have to be attuned to power dynamics.